Have you ever felt like your mind is working against you? Like no matter how many positive affirmations you whisper to yourself, there's always a voice in the background, quietly reminding you of your flaws, your doubts, your failures. We're often told to silence that voice, to push away negative thoughts, to replace them with something brighter, something better. But what if those negative thoughts aren't enemies, but misunderstood messengers? We live in a culture addicted to improvement. Everywhere you look, there's advice. Level up. Optimize your life. Be the best version of yourself. And while there's beauty in growth, there's also a hidden cost. The constant push to be better can make you feel like who you are now isn't enough, that you must constantly fix, change, evolve, or else you're somehow falling behind. But here's the paradox. What if true growth doesn't begin with fixing yourself, but with accepting yourself? Not just the parts that shine, but the parts you usually hide. Let me tell you something personal. There was a time when I became obsessed with self-improvement. Every day was a checklist. Read another book, start a new habit, break an old one, visualize success, track progress. On the outside, I was doing all the right things, but inside, I felt hollow. No matter how much I improved, the goalpost kept moving. I couldn't relax. I couldn't breathe. Eventually, I realized I wasn't growing. I was running. Running from my own imperfections. Running from that inner voice that told me I wasn't enough. But here's the thing about running from your shadow. It never really goes away. It follows you. And the more you fight it, the louder it becomes. So I stopped. I sat with the discomfort. I listened. And what I found was unexpected. Those negative thoughts I kept pushing away, they weren't trying to hurt me. They were trying to protect me. They carried fear, yes, but also honesty. They reminded me of wounds I hadn't healed, limits I hadn't respected, dreams I had buried because I was too afraid to fail. The truth is, negative thoughts often arise when something matters deeply. They show us what we care about. They expose our vulnerabilities, not to shame us, but to point us back to our humanity. The problem isn't the negativity itself. The problem is what we do with it. See, we're conditioned to think in binaries. Positive equals good. Negative equals bad. But life is rarely that simple. Sadness, doubt, fear, they're all part of the human experience. To reject them completely is to reject a part of yourself. And when you reject a part of yourself, you fracture. You live a divided life, chasing light, while secretly ashamed of your darkness. But what happens when we embrace the full spectrum? When we stop labeling certain emotions as wrong or broken? When we welcome the shadows as part of the whole? That's where transformation begins. When you sit with your anxiety, you may discover a longing for deeper connection. When you listen to your anger, you may find a boundary that's been crossed. When you honor your sadness, you allow space for healing. Negative thoughts become powerful allies when we learn how to read them. Not as commands, but as clues. Clues that something inside us is calling for attention, care, or change. This doesn't mean wallowing in misery or romanticizing pain. It means holding space for all of it, the light and the dark. Because self-acceptance isn't the opposite of growth. It's the soil from which true growth springs. Imagine a tree trying to grow taller by rejecting its roots. It doesn't work that way. The deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. In the same way, the more grounded you are in who you really are, flaws, fears, and all, the more authentic and lasting your growth will be. So how do we begin to harness our negative thoughts for good? We start by listening without judgment, not trying to fix or silence, just observe. We ask, what is this thought trying to tell me? Where is it coming from? Is there truth in it, or a fear pretending to be truth? We respond with compassion. Instead of saying, I shouldn't feel this way, we say, it's okay that I feel this way. We make room, not because we want to stay in that place forever, but because all healing begins with acknowledgement. We practice being present, not just when things are good, but especially when they're messy. That's where real strength is built, not in the avoidance, but in the staying. And slowly, something shifts. You stop fighting yourself. You stop seeing your imperfections as obstacles. You begin to see them as part of your path. You begin to trust that even your darkest thoughts have something to teach you. And in that trust, you find peace. Not the peace of perfection, but the peace of wholeness. In a world obsessed with constant progress, this kind of peace is revolutionary. To say, I am enough, even as I evolve. To believe, I don't need to be fixed, I need to be heard. That's powerful. That's brave. You are not broken because you have negative thoughts. You are human. And maybe that's enough.
If this made you pause, if you're drawn to deeper truths and quiet strength, then you're in the right place. Like, subscribe, and keep exploring with us. See you in the next one.